Welcome to the Tiny Stove and the Ninja. Let's get right into our first video. When you hear its name, it sounds like royalty. These are the mini Kouign Amann, so let's make it. In the bowl, put 1 tablespoon of yeast. Then 1 tablespoon of sugar. That's going to feed it during the activation process. You'll also need 1 cup of warm water, right around 100 degrees. And if it's too warm, like this one, it was a little hot, so I had to let it cool. This is where a thermometer will come in handy. But if you don't have a thermometer, just think warm to the touch. It'll take about 5 to 10 minutes before you notice bubbles forming on the surface. And you see that adorable cup? That tiny cup right there? Well, inside is liquid gold, aka brown butter. Those cooked down fats add additional flecks of flavor. Then you pour it into your yeast mixture. We have to add this butter, this liquid gold, into our yeast mixture. So once we've incorporated it all the way inside the yeast, stir it with your spatula just to make certain. You also have to add flour now. For this, I love bread flour, but this is a decision you'll have to make. If you can't afford bread flour, AP or all-purpose flour will make it in a pinch. It'll do just fine. Start with 1 cup and then gently incorporate the flour into the yeast mixture. But if you're in a rush, go ahead and dump it all in. Just be sure to incorporate it all together. But this is where decision-making time comes in. If you've had a hard day, maybe you'll want to do it all by hand. In that case, it'll take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I chose to use my mixer. So you'll turn it on, medium, and that's why I like to make sure it's incorporated first so that flour doesn't fill the room and the air. But just like life, you got to be patient. And if you keep at it, it'll come together. You see how that dough is coming together nicely? All right, we've reached our 5-minute mark. Remove it, and I have another bowl that's waiting to be buttered to add to the layers of flavor. But just keep in mind that after you butter it, you'll cover it with plastic wrap. And I always like adding a little spin to it. You'll see a little message I left for y'all. Maybe you'll like adding a message to your plastic wrap too. In our kitchen though, we don't have a light in our oven, hence the tiny stove, but we preheat it for a minute and then we put it in there so that the dough can be comfortable. Now here, on the left is kosher salt, on the right is sugar. So just about 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1 to 2 tablespoons of salt. And you see my mightiest of whisks. If you have a mighty whisk, make sure you stir it all together. Get in those corners. There you go. All right. And with these, 6 of them are perforated, meaning they have little holes to let air seep through. And the other 6 are not perforated. But they all have to be buttered. And I mean really buttered. This is going to add to the flavor, but it's also going to make sure that sugar sticks or adheres to the sides. That's going to help it during the baking process. So it'll take a moment. But keep in mind, you don't have to use these. You might have a 6 or a 12 muffin tin or a cupcake holder. Do the same process. Butter those and sugar those with the same salt and sugar mixture. Look who's back. Looks like he enjoyed that warm oven. He grew up pretty good. You deflate them, deflate the dough, and now you bring out your trusty grater. Now this is a stick of butter. It's a frozen stick though. See, that's key. It's a frozen stick. I want you to be careful, because if you're not careful, you could cut yourself. One way I've learned to prevent that is having a better grip. The way you get a better grip is taking that frozen stick of butter and putting it in a little flour. That'll give you something to hold on to when you're grating. Then you pull your dough out, you roll it out to a nice rectangle. Obviously, this is not perfect, but neither are we, right? So just go ahead and put that butter right there. And you want to spread it out just a little bit. And once you do, you'll fold it in thirds. So you'll fold one over and then you fold it over itself. Wrap it in plastic wrap. I put mine directly in the freezer for about 30 to 45 minutes, but you can leave it in the fridge for a half hour to an hour. This is not a redo. This is a second stick of butter. Yes, so grate a second stick of butter. And then when your dough has rested sufficiently, pull it out of the fridge or the freezer if you chose. Make sure your surface is dusted with flour. And then roll it out to a rectangle again. You're building layers now. Oh yeah. Now put that grated butter. Kind of looks like cheese, doesn't it? But it's not a pizza. Maybe on the next episode or an episode in the future. But this is butter. You'll fold it once again in threes. So you'll fold half over and then the other half over. And you'll kind of pat it down. I enjoy doing this because it allows the butter to adhere to the layers more. Then you'll flatten it out to another rectangle. Then you fold it again. Then you turn it. And then you'll fold it again. So in total, that's 2 sticks of butter and 4 folds. Then you wrap it again in plastic. This time, you'll need to leave it at least an hour. My preference is leaving it overnight, allowing those flavors to really meld. And then afterwards, you'll take that same salty, sugary mixture and you'll put that dough right on top of it. But you have to act quick. If you're in a warm area, you have to act quick. Just keep in mind the refrigerator is your friend. But when you put sugar and salt on it, think about salt with anything you cook on a stove. It draws out the moisture. Same thing with this dough. The salt and the sugar together, it'll draw out the moisture and cause it to come to room temp quicker, along with your hands if you're touching it. So you want that sugar salt mixture on it, but you have to be quick. So put it right back into a rectangular shape. And unless you're an artist and you got the beautiful eye, yours will probably look much better than this, but you're still going to prepare it by cutting it. I love these scraps. Do not toss these scraps. These scraps are your friend. Those scraps are your tasters later. And we'll see what we'll do with those in just a moment. I made a decision here too. I was going to make big ones, but then I opted for mini Kouign Amann. So instead of getting 12 or so, now we have 16. So let's see how quick this montage is. You're folding the corners in on themselves. Don't be afraid. Sometimes when we're working with dough or working with something new, we get a little bit trepidation or fear. Don't fear this. You made it. And you're doing a great job. I know it. It's almost like I can see in your kitchen. All right. So whether you're using a cupcake tin or you're using ring molds like me, just make sure that they are still well buttered and sugared. You see those twists that I made too with those scraps? And let's get the slow motion shot with the sugar. That sugar salt mixture is going to add a depth of flavor so it's not overly or gnawingly sweet. And this is the result, a Kouign Amann. But with a little twist, a little tart twist. That is lemon curd. Maybe we'll do a recipe for that later. And on top of it is a very nice whipped meringue. There'll probably be a recipe coming for that too. Don't you love that sound? Well, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate you. This pastry is something I wanted to share with you. If you have a moment, I would love it if you like and subscribe. And can't wait to join you again on another journey with another delicious, delicious meal or treat. Have a wonderful day.